So, Frozen 2 is deeply, extremely weird. I'm just gonna put it really harshly to start out. I understand it's been 6 years between movies, and this is an animated movie. I have an incomplete understanding of animated movies, but I do know that they take a very, very long time. So this isn't a case of, wow, you had 6 years to write a movie and this is what you came up with. It's more a case of like, you had 1 year to write this movie and then your first 12 pitches were rejected in part or in full. They were probably actively editing the story while it was in the process of being recorded and animated, and then they're kind of at the mercy of like which scenes are already done, because you have to keep those, especially the most expensive ones, and ultimately you're probably coming up on the deadline and just scrambling to fit whatever you do already have into some semblance of a movie. But to be harsh, with a movie so huge and highly anticipated, it's just a bit disappointing to get a finished product that feels like someone ran up on a deadline and had a bunch of pieces that didn't really work or fit together, so they just hurriedly smushed them into something vaguely passable. Alright, spoiler warning, I'm gonna get into some specific things, so spoilers for the whole movie. Frozen 2 introduces this idea of spirits, the spirits of the 4 elements, and it's cool, but also the way they did it, it doesn't make any sense. So there's this ancient symbol representing the 4 elements: earth, fire, water, wind, and then there's a 5th thing in the middle, presumably the avatar. If each of the elements is a creature, the obvious assumption is that Elsa is the water one because she controls ice, and in Frozen 2 she does some stuff that's just with water. So you're like, okay, she's water. And maybe there are cool looking magical girls for each of the other elements, and then Disney can sell pretty dolls of them and like maybe do an additional movie covering each one or something. And it also kind of feels like if Disney is setting up any twist, it's that Elsa is in fact the 5th spirit and she can control all the elements, not just ice/water. This is further reinforced by Elsa meeting a magical horse made of water, so you're like, okay, that's the water spirit, Elsa is the 5th one. But here's how it shakes out as far as I could tell. The water spirit is the magical horse. I have it behind me. It can control water, but not ice, I don't think. It can break apart into just being water, a la Alex Mack, but it can also manifest as a horse. But the horse is made of water. It's not like a real horse made of horse skin. The fire spirit is a little lizard. It can appear as just fire, a lizard that's on fire, or a lizard, and it's just a normal lizard when it's like that, with lizard skin. The wind spirit is just the actual wind, and it has no physical form, so it's not a creature. It just is the wind, but it has a personality. The earth spirit is kind of unclear, but it appears to be these big rock giants, even though there's like 20 of them. So I guess it's just all 20 of these guys. They're made of rocks, but they don't seem to actually even be able to control the earth so much as just pick up rocks and throw them. And then the 5th spirit is Elsa, a human woman who can control the same things as the water spirit and ice, but nothing else. To make things more confusing, the quest starts because Elsa, in her own words, accidentally wakes up the spirits of the dark forest. These spirits attack Arendelle by messing up the water, fire, wind, and earth. These spirits are not the 4 spirits of the elements that I previously mentioned. The rock giants, lizard, and water horse were not present. The jury's still out on whether the wind spirit was there because it's invisible and just looks like the wind. But I think those spirits weren't present because they couldn't have been present because they were trapped in the dark forest by the mist that doesn't let anything in or out. So they weren't responsible for the attack on Arendelle. So I guess those 4 spirits are the spirits of the elements, but there are also separate spirits of the dark forest which also control each of those elements. It makes no sense. So that's all I have to say about that, I guess. It's just, it doesn't make sense. Again, it just kind of feels like an unexamined first draft. And like there are things in Disney princess movies that don't make sense all the time, and I don't care about those. Like, you know how Anna and Elsa left all of their subjects on a cliffside with no food, water, or shelter. You'll be safe here. Great, thanks guys. Or the fact that suddenly the girls are in different outfits when they go on their adventure, even though they fled the castle in the middle of the night, and like I didn't see them pack a suitcase. But like that kind of stuff, it's just nitpicking. It doesn't matter that much. Maybe they shopped on the way. I don't really care. But this elemental spirit stuff, it's kind of like what the movie is about. There isn't a lot of character development, so I think kind of the whole purpose of Frozen 2 is to expand the lore of their universe. And if that's the thing you're bringing to the table, you really have to lock it down. Instead, it was just really vague. And if anything, it raised more questions. But here's my biggest beef with this movie is that Frozen is supposed to be about sisters, and Elsa and Anna barely interact. You get one scene at the beginning where Elsa can't sleep and Anna is comforting her, and it's like a sweet sister moment. Then they're just hanging out as a group, and pretty much all the character interactions are just Anna and Kristoff. A quest or road trip movie is usually great, like a great opportunity for just team building and bonding all around, but this isn't even really a quest movie. They set out on the wagon, walk into the forest, and then 5 minutes later just immediately run into all the people that live in the forest and all the old Arendellian soldiers at the same time in the same scene. Like, there isn't that much of an impression of grandness and mystery in this forest. Like, for all I know, it's 5 acres of land. Then later they set out again and very quickly find their parents shipwrecked. There's only one scene of them walking. It seems like they found it in 5 minutes. When I saw the shipwreck, I was immediately like, okay, this can go one of two ways. Either their parents aren't in there, suggesting that they're still alive, or, my favorite, these princesses are about to find the skeletons of their parents. Either one is going to be high drama, so I'm admittedly pretty excited to see it play out. But no, the magical mist conveniently kept all of the skeletons out of the movie. Those cowards. Then for the whole, last half of the movie, Elsa and Anna are just separated. Elsa tricks Anna and throws her down a hillside in an ice canoe at 50 miles an hour. She could have straight up killed her, and Anna is furious, but this fury is never really addressed. I mean, she talks about it to Olaf, but she never hashes it out with Elsa. Worst of all, the narrative suggests that Elsa doing this thing and pushing Anna away was actually the correct choice. If she hadn't ditched her to go on the dangerous mission to the ice caves, she never would have found out about Arendelle's past and how to break the curse on the lands. She gets frozen as a consequence of obtaining this information, but it's not like a morality thing. The message wasn't that Elsa shouldn't have gone here or that it was dangerous, selfish, reckless, a fool's errand. It was that Elsa was a hero for unwittingly sacrificing herself for this intel. So, sidebar, I'd kind of like to point out how much ominous imagery there is around the voice that's calling Elsa. It's calling her out directly into a raging ocean, and in Into the Unknown, she specifically refers to it as a siren. A siren isn't just a thing that tempts you because it has something really cool to show you. It's a thing that tempts you in order to kill you. When she gets in the water, she's eventually carried off to the ice cave island by a magical water horse. That's a lot like a kelpie, the mythical water horse creature that tries to tempt people into climbing onto its back. Again, not because it has something cool to show them. And then there's the lullaby their mom sings them as kids, which ends with an ominous warning about drowning if you go too deep. And then we get to Show Yourself, which was one of the 2 songs that I really liked in the movie. But the actual revelation Elsa has in the cave really rubs me the wrong way. Elsa is looking for answers and someone to tell her why she is the way she is. And the musical number she has in the cave and the vision and whatever is basically it's just you. Trust in yourself. The power is in you. You are all you need. It would be very empowering under some circumstances, but for Elsa, it's all wrong. She specifically says earlier in the movie that she's hoping the voice is someone like her. She wants answers and community. And this song is triumphantly good news, Elsa. There is no answer, and there is no one like you. You're really super powerful, Elsa. You have no equal. You do have a horse, a lizard, the wind, and these 20 guys. And that's that. And this is framed as some beautiful, triumphant revelation. But think about Frozen 1 for just 1/2 of a second. In Let It Go, Elsa is excited because she's embracing who she is. But at the beginning of the movie, she mistakenly believes that in order to do that, she has to leave behind everybody she knows and loves and go be a glamorous, bedazzled hermit in an ice castle on a mountain. And the resolution to that story is no, Elsa, don't do that very weird thing. You can embrace who you are and also find acceptance from the people who love you. And Frozen 2 ends with Elsa embracing her powers, leaving behind everyone she knows and loves, and going to become a glamorous, bedazzled hermit horse girl in the forest. And I guess she'll visit sometimes, so That's growth. I mean, she'll at least visit for board game nights and use Wind Instant Messenger, so like that's something. But also she's so directionless now. There's no real sense that the forest or nature or whatever needed her there to function. I kind of get the sense that in an early draft, Elsa was going to go be the queen of the forest people. Like they had some line about how their mother was from one of their oldest families, which was maybe like a queen or a chief, and she was like their lost princess or something. And then maybe somebody at Disney was like, hey, this is a self-sufficient, non-white tribe of indigenous people in a forest, and Elsa is like as white as a person can possibly be without being a ghost. So like maybe the optics of that are not ideal. But then it's like, what is Elsa even doing out there? Just riding her horse around? It doesn't seem like they're facing any particular danger that she has to restore balance to. So she's not a superhero. She's not their queen. So what? What does this amount to? That Elsa just has a wealthy family who will support her as she takes a gap year